Stop right now. Do not scroll. Do not touch that screen one more time. Because God did not allow this message to land in front of your eyes just so you could treat it like another random video and walk away. 2 people have been talking about you. And this time they are not talking about your work, your choices, your past, or what you did wrong. They are talking about your body, your looks, the way you walk into a room, your hair, your skin, your shape, your presence, your glow, your changes. The parts of you they pretend not to notice but somehow remember with embarrassing detail. They have placed your image on the cold table of judgment, slicing through every detail with mouths full of jealousy, insecurity, and hidden obsession. But listen closely, chosen one, because the shocking part is not only what they said, the real shock is what their words expose. They are obsessed with you, completely obsessed. So obsessed that the more their mouths criticize you, the more their hearts betray them. One of them carries a sharp, competitive spirit, always searching for a crack in you just to convince themselves they have not already lost. They attack your body because they cannot stand the fact that you are still standing, still rising, still walking into places with a presence they cannot copy, buy, steal, or destroy. And the other one may seem quieter, but do not mistake silence for innocence. Inside, they are tangled in feelings they are too weak to confess, drawn to you, disturbed by you, curious about you, unable to stop watching you, yet too afraid to admit that your presence has touched something in them they cannot control. So they hide behind criticism. They use cruel words as a mask. They act like they are judging you, but in the eyes of heaven, they are signing their own confession. People who do not care do not study every detail. People who are not affected do not remember how you moved, how you looked, how you changed, how you appeared when you did not even know they were watching. God heard it. God saw it. And today, He is pulling the curtain down so you can finally understand their words are not the truth about you. They are evidence of the storm inside them. Do not leave now, because the next part will expose the real reason they attacked your appearance. They are not afraid of your body. They are afraid of what God is resurrected inside you. If this word is speaking directly to your spirit, seal it right now by typing, "I do not belong to their judgment." And you felt it before anyone ever confirmed it. Do not lie to yourself anymore. You felt the stare that stayed on you 1 second too long. You felt the silence that fell the moment you walked into the room. You felt the way their eyes traveled over you like they were searching for something to accuse, something to mock, something to use as proof that you were not becoming what God said you would become. You felt it in the hallway, at the gathering, in that room, through that message. In that strange shift of energy when your name came up and people suddenly did not know where to place their eyes. And for a long time, you tried to talk yourself out of it. You told yourself, maybe I am being too sensitive. Maybe I am imagining things. Maybe they did not mean it that way. No. Stop defending what your spirit already detected. You were not imagining it. You were reading what their mouths had not yet confessed. There was a look in their eyes that did not come from love. There was a sharpness in their attention that did not come from admiration alone. They looked at your body like they were trying to find a weakness. They looked at your face like they were trying to find a crack. They watched the way you moved because something about your presence disturbed the false peace they built around themselves. And this is why it felt so heavy. You were not just being seen. You were being measured by people who had no authority to measure you. They were standing there with dirty hands, trying to examine a vessel God Himself has been carrying through fire. They saw the outside, but they did not see the nights you fought to keep breathing. They saw the changes, but they did not see the prayers. They saw your body, but they did not see the battles it survived. That is why heaven is interrupting you right now. God is not exposing this to make you bitter. He is exposing it so you stop shrinking under the weight of opinions that were born in envy. Because the truth is brutal, they were not only looking at you, they were looking for permission to feel superior to you. But they could not find it. And that failure is what made their eyes sharper, their whispers lower, and their judgment louder. Stay with this message, because the next part will reveal exactly who these two people are and why one of them is competing with you, while the other one is secretly unable to stop being affected by you. If this confirms what you have felt for a long time, type "I trust what God showed me." Now let the mask come off, because these are not just two random mouths speaking in the dark. These are two very different spirits sitting at the same table, feeding from the same poisoned plate, pretending they are only discussing what they see on the outside. The first one is easy to recognize once heaven turns the light on. This is the sharp one, the measuring one, the one who cannot look at you without comparing. They may smile when you enter, but something in them tightens. They scan you like a rival walking into a room they thought belonged to them. Your body becomes their target because your confidence is too difficult to attack directly. Your face becomes their subject because your favor is too painful for them to name. They talk about your shape, your weight, your hair, your skin, your changes. But what they really mean is, why are you still standing? Why are you still noticeable? Why are you still becoming something after everything that was supposed to reduce you? That is the question burning behind their teeth. They wanted a weaker version of you, a quieter version, a version that made them feel safe. And when you did not stay small, when you did not remain hidden, when you walked back into the room carrying scars but still carrying presence, it offended the insecure throne they had built for themselves. So now they pick at details, they pick at what changed, they pick at what they think they can laugh about. But every word is just a little shovel digging up their own envy. And then there is the second one, quieter, more careful, more dangerous in a different way. This one does not always lead the attack, but they do not stop it either. They sit there, nodding, laughing at the right moments, agreeing just enough to stay protected, because the truth inside them is far messier than they want anyone to know. They are affected by you, deeply, not in a clean way, not in a simple way, but in a way that makes them uncomfortable with themselves. Your name enters the conversation and something in them wakes up. They remember details they should not remember. They notice things they pretend not to notice. They are drawn to your presence, yet ashamed of being drawn. So instead of confessing that you have touched a place in them they cannot control, they hide inside criticism. They borrow the sharper one's knife because they are too afraid to admit their own hands are shaking. Do you see it now? One is trying to compete with you. The other is trying to bury the fact that you moved them. And together, they use your body as a disguise for what is really happening. But heaven is not fooled. God sees the jealousy in the first one and the confusion in the second. He sees how one wants to pull you down and how the other cannot stop looking back. So do not shrink. Do not explain. Do not rush to defend a body God has already carried through battles they know nothing about. Stay here, because the next truth is even sharper. They are not using their words to describe you. They are using their words to expose themselves. Heaven wants you to understand the mirror they have been trying to force in front of your face. Because their words felt personal, didn't they? They felt sharp enough to cut into the places you already tried to hide. They spoke about your body like they had been given authority to inspect it. They spoke about your looks like their opinion was some kind of verdict. But look closer. Look past the noise. Look past the ugly little comments dressed up as honesty. What they handed you was not a mirror. It was a broken piece of glass covered in their own fingerprints. A clean mirror reflects what stands before it. A cracked mirror twists what it cannot hold. And that is exactly what their judgment has done. It has taken the image of a person God has carried, protected, rebuilt, and preserved, then bent it through jealousy until it looked like something smaller, weaker, less worthy. But a distorted reflection does not become truth just because two wounded mouths agreed on it. A muddy window cannot testify against the sunrise. A blindfolded judge cannot sentence a king. And a heart poisoned by comparison has no right to define a body that God Himself has kept alive. They saw your shape, but not your story. They saw your changes, but not your survival. They saw your face, but not the tears God wiped from it when nobody else was in the room. They saw your walk, but not the battles that taught your feet how to stand again. So why would you bow before their version of you? Why would you let a cracked mirror rename what heaven already called precious? This is where the enemy tries to be clever. He does not always need a sword. Sometimes he only needs a sentence. One careless sentence about your body. One cruel sentence about your looks. One whispered sentence from people who were never assigned to cover you, only to criticize you. And if you receive it, if you let it settle inside you, that sentence becomes a chain. But today, that chain is being snapped. Their words are falling to the ground powerless. Their opinion is being stripped of authority. Their mirror is shattering in the hand that tried to hold it over you. You are not the twisted reflection they described. You are not the edited version their jealousy created. You are not the small picture their insecurity could tolerate. You are God's workmanship, and no bitter conversation in a hidden corner has the power to rewrite what His hands have formed. Stay locked in, because the next part is where this becomes even deeper. The very body they mocked is the body God used to carry you through fire. And they cannot stand the fact that you survived. Now let this truth sink deep into the place where their words tried to bruise you. The body they mocked is the same body God carried through seasons they would not have survived. They saw a shape, but heaven saw a battlefield. They saw a change, but God saw the cost of staying alive. They saw your waist, your skin, your face, your weight, your posture, your movement. But they did not see the nights your strength was almost gone and you still whispered one more prayer. They did not see the mornings when getting up felt like dragging a mountain across the floor. They did not see the silent seasons when you had to rebuild yourself without applause, without support, without anyone clapping for the small victories that kept you from falling apart. So let them talk about your body if they want to. Let them expose how shallow their eyes are. Because what they call a flaw, God calls evidence. Evidence that you endured. Evidence that you were pressed but not erased. Evidence that grief did not swallow you whole. Evidence that shame did not win. Evidence that the version of you they expected to disappear is standing right here. Breathing, moving, becoming, and refusing to apologize for surviving. Your body is not a mistake in your story. Your body is carrying the story. It is the temple that held your soul when storms beat against every wall. It is the vessel God kept from breaking when people who now criticize you were nowhere to be found. Every mark, every shift, every change, every part of you they tried to laugh at has passed through the hands of the Lord. Do you remember, David, when the prophet Samuel came to Jesse's house? The people looked at the sons who seemed stronger, taller, more impressive, more fitting in the eyes of man. But God did not choose by surface. God looked past what human eyes celebrated and placed His hand on the one they had overlooked. David was not selected because he looked like everyone's expectation. He was chosen because God saw what others were too blind to honor. And that is the word over you right now. People may stare at your outside and miss the oil on your life. They may judge the vessel and fail to recognize the calling it carries. They may talk about what changed on your body while completely missing what God strengthened in your spirit. But heaven has never been confused about you. The Lord did not ask them for permission when He protected you. He did not ask them for approval when He began restoring you. He did not consult their jealousy when He decided you were still worthy of being seen, still worthy of being lifted, still worthy of walking into rooms with dignity on your shoulders. So stop treating your body like an apology. Stop covering yourself in shame just because people with unclean motives tried to make your reflection feel illegal. Your body has carried prayers, battles, tears, healing, waiting, disappointment, recovery, and resurrection. It deserves honor, not hatred. It deserves blessing, not punishment. It deserves to be spoken to with the same mercy God used when He kept you alive. If this word is breaking the agreement you made with shame, seal it now by typing, "I honor the vessel God kept alive," and do not move away from this message, because the next part will show you why they keep circling back to your appearance. They are not studying your flaws. They are staring at the favor they cannot explain. Picture them after that conversation ends. The mouths stop moving. The laughter fades. The room goes quiet. But your image does not leave them. That is the part they would never confess. They can walk away from the conversation, but they cannot walk away from the effect you had on them. They carry you with them like smoke trapped in their clothes after standing too close to a fire. They replay the way you looked, the way you entered, the way you did not beg for attention but somehow still took it, the way your body, your face, your presence, your quiet return spoke louder than any explanation you could have given. And that is where the fear begins to crawl under their skin. Because people can dismiss weakness. They can laugh at someone who stayed down. They can feel comfortable around a person who no longer believes in themselves. But what do they do with someone who was supposed to be finished, yet walks back in with breath in their lungs and dignity on their shoulders? What do they do with a person whose body carries evidence of storms, but whose spirit still refuses to bow? That is what troubles them. Not your size, not your shape, not your hair, not your skin, not the little details they keep throwing into the conversation like scraps of meat to feed their own insecurity. The real problem is that you survived in a way that ruined their private prediction over your life. Somewhere in them, they had already written a quiet ending for you. They expected you to become smaller, easier to ignore, easier to pity, easier to outshine. They thought the season that changed you would also silence you. They thought the weight of what you went through would make your presence less dangerous. But then you appeared again. Maybe not perfect, maybe not polished, maybe still healing, but present, and your presence was enough to disturb every false throne they had built inside themselves. That is why they keep going back to your appearance. It is the only surface they can strike, because they cannot reach the oil underneath. They can make comments about what they see, but they cannot explain what God preserved. They can criticize the vessel, but they cannot cancel the calling inside it. They can whisper about your body, but they cannot remove the hand of the Lord from your life. So they circle, they inspect, they compare, they look for a flaw big enough to comfort them, but every time they search, they run into the same terrifying truth: you are still becoming. You are not frozen in the version they wanted to mock. You are not trapped in the season they thought would define you. You are moving. Slowly, maybe. Quietly, maybe. But moving. And movement is terrifying to people who needed you stuck so they could feel ahead. Hear this clearly. Chosen one, their obsession is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is proof that something on you is speaking without your permission. Favor speaks. Healing speaks. Survival speaks. A person who has been kept by God carries a sound that jealous ears cannot tolerate. So let them keep pretending the issue is your body. Heaven knows better. The issue is that your life is becoming a testimony they cannot edit, a fire they cannot smother, and a mirror they cannot stand in front of without seeing everything they refuse to become. Do not give them the satisfaction of shrinking. Do not hand them your peace like payment for their discomfort. Stand in the body God kept alive. Lift your head, and let your continued becoming answer every mouth that tried to reduce you. Here is where their whole little performance collapses, because the details gave them away. They said too much. They remembered too much. They noticed too much for people who claim you are nothing to them. A person who truly does not care does not remember the way your clothes fit that day. They do not remember the way your hair looked when you were not even trying. They do not remember the shift in your body, the change in your walk, the quiet confidence in your face, the way you entered a space and made their conversation lose balance. No. Chosen one. Indifference does not study like that. Hatred does not keep such careful records unless obsession is hiding underneath it. Every insult they spoke carried evidence. Every little comment was a fingerprint left at the scene. Every detail they dragged into the conversation was proof that their eyes had been following you far more closely than their pride would ever admit. And this is where heaven turns the table. They thought their words were arrows pointed at you, but those arrows curved back and exposed the hands that released them. They thought they were building a case against your body, your beauty, your presence, your becoming. But before God, they were only building a case against their own hearts. Do you remember Miriam and Aaron? They spoke against Moses in the quiet places, thinking their private words were hidden, thinking their criticism could float in the air and disappear. But the Lord heard. Moses did not have to scream, chase, explain, or defend himself like a desperate man begging to be understood. God heard what was spoken. God saw what was hidden. And God handled what Moses did not need to touch. That same warning stands over your situation. You do not have to stand in the corner of that room and argue with people whose hearts were already bent before they opened their mouths. You do not have to chase down every rumor, every look, every whisper, every cruel little sentence they tried to plant around your name. Heaven heard it before it reached you. God saw the motive before the words finished leaving their lips. So release the need to defend your body to people who were never qualified to judge it. Release the need to prove your beauty to eyes infected with envy. Release the need to explain your transformation to mouths that were committed to misunderstanding it. Let their details expose them. Let their memory betray them. Let their own words testify that you affected them deeper than they were ready to admit. And if you are done carrying what God already heard, type this seal right now: God heard it, and I release it. Heaven is giving you a way to wash their words off your spirit, because revelation without action can still leave you carrying the dirt of people who never had clean hands. So for the next 7 days, you are going to stop letting their mouths be the mirror you wake up to. You are going to stand before God's truth and take your image back one day at a time. This is not a game. This is not empty motivation. This is a holy refusal to agree with shame. For 7 days, before you leave your room, before you let the world speak over you, stand in front of a mirror, place your hand over your heart, and speak like someone whose body belongs to God, not to gossip. On day 1, break the agreement. Say, every word spoken against my body that did not come from God loses authority over me now. On day 2, bless the part of you they tried to make you hide. Your face, your stomach, your skin, your arms, your shape. Look at it and say, you carried me through what nobody saw. I will not curse what God kept alive. On day 3, write down 5 battles your body helped you survive. Not to worship the pain, but to remember the victory. On day 4, when the memory of their words tries to crawl back into your mind, answer it out loud: that mirror is broken. I return to what God says. On day 5, Dress like you are no longer apologizing for being seen. Not for attention, not for revenge, but as a declaration that shame no longer gets to choose how you show up. On day 6, pray for clean eyes. Ask the Lord to teach you to see yourself without the fingerprints of cruel people on your reflection. And on day 7, walk. Walk into a room, down a street, through your house, anywhere. But walk with your head lifted like someone who has been released from a false sentence. Do not rush this. Do not mock it. 7 days can break a pattern your pain has been feeding for years. Every morning you do this. Another chain loosens. Every declaration pulls your identity out of their hands and places it back under God's authority. And when the 7th day comes, you will not need them to apologize in order to be free. You will not need them to admit they were obsessed in order to be healed. You will simply know their words touched the surface, but God restored the root. If you are ready to take this 7-day practice seriously, seal it in the comments now. 7 days with God's mirror. Now take your story back. Not tomorrow. Not when they apologize. Not when the same mouths that wounded you suddenly become mature enough to admit what they did. Take it back now. Because for too long, you have allowed people with unwashed hearts to hold a pen over your identity. They wrote sentences over your body that God never signed. They tried to name your beauty from a place of envy. They tried to describe your worth from a place of lack. They tried to reduce your presence because your becoming made them uncomfortable. But that false document is being torn in half today. You are not who their mouth called you. You are not the joke they made when you were not in the room. You are not the distorted image they passed between themselves like stolen evidence. You are not the version they needed you to be so they could feel taller, cleaner, softer, more important. You are the person God kept. You are the body God carried. You are the vessel that walked through pressure and still did not collapse. You are the living proof that shame can scream and still lose. So stop asking broken people for a clean reflection. Stop waiting for jealous eyes to finally see you correctly. Stop shrinking your walk, hiding your face, changing your voice, softening your light, or apologizing for the very presence God allowed to remain on you. The pen is not in their hands anymore. Pick it up. Write again. Write over your body kept. Write over your face favored. Write over your reflection not rejected. Write over your scars survived. Write over your name still chosen. And when those old words try to come back, when the memory of their criticism tries to crawl under the door like smoke, do not entertain it. Do not sit with it. Do not feed it. Stand up in your spirit and say, "That is not my name anymore." Heaven is restoring your language. God is teaching you to speak over yourself with authority, not apology. And from this moment forward, you do not live under their description. You live under God's declaration. If you are ready to take your story back, type this seal in the comments. I take my story back. Chosen 1. Now receive the final verdict, because the trial they tried to hold over your body is dismissed. The shame is canceled. The accusation is canceled. The little sentences spoken in hidden places are canceled. The judgment they tried to stitch onto your reflection is being ripped off by the hand of God. Heaven does not agree with their mouth. Heaven does not bow to their opinion. Heaven does not take instructions from jealous eyes, bitter tongues, or people who needed you wounded so they could feel whole. The Lord has seen the body they criticized, and He calls it kept. He has seen the face they mocked, and He calls it beloved. He has seen the changes they whispered about, and He calls them evidence that you were not destroyed. So let every word that tried to poison your confidence fall to the ground right now. Let every hidden comment lose its teeth. Let every stare, every laugh, every comparison, every secret conversation be stripped of power. You are not walking out of this message as the person who entered it. You are walking out lighter, cleaner, taller in your spirit, not because they changed, but because their words no longer own a room inside you. In the name of Jesus, I declare that shame is leaving your body, confusion is leaving your reflection, and the false mirror is breaking completely. May God teach you to look at yourself with mercy again. May He restore dignity to the places where criticism made you hide. May He give you courage to walk into rooms without shrinking, dress without apologizing, smile without checking who approves, and live without handing your peace to people who cannot carry it. Let them talk. Let them watch. Let them misunderstand. Let them choke on the dust of your becoming, while God continues to raise you in front of the same eyes that tried to reduce you. Your worth is not gossip written. Your beauty is not enemy edited. Your identity is not crowd approved. It is God written. If you receive this prayer, seal it in the comments. My worth is God written. Hit like as your agreement with this verdict. Share this with someone whose body was judged, but whose spirit is still rising. And subscribe, because your healing deserves daily confirmation.